I think one of the most exciting things about gardening is actually growing your own plants, growing your own garden in fact, propagating plants and seeing them make more and more and more. And this time of year is absolutely perfect for dividing one group of herbaceous perennials. They're all things which flower early on in the season. Things which flower late, like these asters behind me, ought to be divided in the spring. But right now, I'm going to set to work on this pulmonaria. I've taken such a lot out of here, but I've still got remnants, 2 or 3 pieces at the front. And I think it would be really nice to return a bit of this into this hole so it makes a really nice big clump. I'll thank myself for doing this next January and February when the plant starts to flower. The really great part about dividing plants, especially in the autumn, is that if it rains, you can come inside because this is the business end. This is where we're actually doing it. So we're under cover. All I want to do is pull this great big chunk out and then very gently, although it's doing it very easily, I'm taking out pieces which have got a decent root at the end of them. Lots of foliage. I'll probably cut some of that back. But it's almost like the plant wants to divide itself. Look at that. So each of these pieces has got several roots which are enough to get it through the winter and start making a new plant. And what I'm left with is all the old root. Now that wouldn't regenerate at all, so that's going straight onto the compost heap. And what I want to do now is pot each piece individually. So I'll break off any dead leaves like that. And then I want to select the right size pot. Whatever you do when you're dividing plants or potting anything up, make sure that you're not folding roots, because if roots start trying to grow upside down, they won't succeed. They have to grow downwards. So I want to take each of these pieces, and I'm just going to have 1 piece per pot, because that's going to make a fine, decent plant by the spring. You're going to plant it back in its pot at exactly the same height it was in the soil. So I don't want to bury it, I don't want to lift it at all, but I do want to make sure that the roots are going downwards, and they certainly are. And I'm just going to hold my plant up here, keep pouring that soil in, and as I do, I'll jiggle it up and down like that to make sure those roots are down and to make sure that there are no air pockets between the roots. And then at that stage I can firm it down. And I always like my plants to feel that they're completely at home. I think that's just about right, with the crown of the plant just level with the soil. And of course, naturally, I'm going to finish off with some grit. A, it helps keep the moisture in the compost. B, it suppresses any weeds that might feel like germinating. And C, it stops the crown of the plant from rotting. So it's always a good idea, whether you're putting on seedlings or making divisions like this. There's 1 new plant, and I'm going to make half a dozen out of this. Another really good time to use this method of propagation, dividing plants, is when you've bought a new plant from the garden centre or nursery, but we've all had that experience where that plant has sat by our back door for ages and ages. And that's just the case with this geranium. It's Geranium cantabriense, and it's a real beauty. This plant was bought probably several months ago, and it's looking very healthy. It's been looked after, it's been rained on and watered. But now I think instead of planting it straight out, oh, just look at this. Do you think it's ready to be divided? I do. Well, as you can see, it's got a really good root system, and I think it's going to make loads and loads of little plants. And it's tougher than the pulmonaria. The pulmonaria just wanted to fall apart. So when you get to this stage, it might be a good idea to use a couple of small hand forks So this is exactly the same principle you would use outside with a big perennial, but then you'd be using bigger forks. So I'm really pushing those in, and then I'm levering them against one another. I'm getting really nice big chunks here. Let's deal with this piece. So I've got one nice piece there. I've got a lovely chunk here. Lots of these roots are just coming off, and it would be worth trying root cuttings because some geraniums will work from root cuttings, and all this excess fibrous root I'll probably actually take right off, because all these bigger roots are going to make lots and lots of small roots too, feeding roots, and they're really vital to the success of this. One thing that we haven't talked about is when exactly you do these. For anything that flowers early, yes, do it in the autumn, divide it in the autumn, but for everything that flowers late, really give it a chance to get over having flowered. Asters, rudbeckia, all those autumn flowering things, and do it the following spring. Now I've got a whole big root system here, and I've got this lovely new shoot up here. So I'm going to use quite a deep pot, I think, something like this. And again, I'm going to put loads of compost in the bottom. I'm going to dangle the whole thing. I'm going to push it in, but I'm still ensuring that the roots are going downwards. I mean, those roots were actually wrapped around the side of the plant, so it's probably not absolutely essential with this, but it's still a good idea. So loads of compost in here, and again, as I go, just jiggling it down. And it's going to look a bit sorry for itself at first, because it's just this one big chunk at the top, which is green and obviously alive. But every single one of these white roots that's down there will spread around and make a new shoot. And by the spring, there should be another pot full. And I'm not going to leave it outside the back door this time. Grit on the top. I reckon I'm going to be able to make at least half a dozen plants out of this. And they'll be quite chunky plants too.